dad. And so I held her hand, and we've done that several times going to school. And I told my wife, I said, I'm going to hold her hand as long as I can, because there'll be a day Dad's not cool anymore. Right? I'm going to enjoy this because there's a time that she's not just going to be all excited when we walk into the house. Because there comes a point that as your children are finding out who they are and trying all this, Mom and Dad aren't cool anymore. They're not what they do, embarrasses and all these different types of things. But I will tell you this, is what I appreciate the fact is that Hannah, now you'd say, well, in Samuel's defense, he didn't know as to what his mom was doing, but she was setting the tone that no matter what it took, no matter what people had to say, no matter what was going to be said of her, no matter what was going to be done, she meant business with God. I might as well say it. We're not having church tonight, so if you don't like me, you can not like me after service. That's why I saved the gifts for after preaching, Brother Bill. But let's just say this. If we had more moms and dads who are less concerned about being the cool parents, less concerned about how their statuses looked on social media, less concerned about the superficial things, and if we got more interested about what God thinks about us, it changed some things. It changed some things. What do you mean, Hannah? The Bible says when Hannah hit the sanctuary, when she hit the place of worship, she got down there and she prayed. And not only did she prayed so strongly and passionately. Now think about this. We often associate strongly and passionately with a lot of words. I'm running around here, I can spit 10 pews back and my face turned red. But that doesn't necessarily equate to a whole lot sometimes. But I will say this, is that there are those, she was in her element praying, and she was so intense that Eli was watching her mouth. The Bible says that she was uttering words or moving her lips, but the prayer was going on in her heart. Eli rebuked her. The man of God came to her and he said, you better put your wine away. What are you doing showing up drunk in the temple? She said, not so. She said, I'm pouring my heart out before the Lord. I'm pouring my heart out. She was out of place. I can tell you, I have talked and counseled and prayed with parents and people who were fighting an eternal battle for their children. And I have witnessed many of them. They did not care what anybody had to think, what anybody had to say. Brother Gary, they were there to do whatever it took. They were there to pay whatever cost. I had one lady who one time had a son who was as wild as a buck. He was running as far from God as he could. And this mom, I watched her brokenhearted. I watched her weep. I watched her pray. I saw where God, she constantly was pouring herself out. And she told me one day, she said, Pastor, I don't mean to get so emotional. I don't mean to, I know people might think some things of me. And I said, don't worry about that, sister. And then she said this, and it always stuck with me. She said, I'm determined that if my son's going to go to hell, he'll have to do it by climbing over the desperate prayers of this mother. Come on. I said, sis, you do what you've got to do. I'm going to get out of the way. Everybody else is going to get out of the way. You pray, you shout, you cry, you do whatever you need to do. Because I'm going to tell you something. It's not about what degree they graduate with. It's not how big of a house they live in, how much money they make. At the end of the day, have they made heaven or have they not? I love everybody here. I love this church. I love the sheep, if I can say, in this congregation that God has given. But I will tell you this, that if I preach to your families and I preach to you and you all make heaven, but I lose my own, then I'm not a success. I have failed. We've got to get back to the place to say, no matter what. No matter what they think. I'm not here to embarrass Sister Carla, and she knows Pastor loves her. But I'll tell you, you know what I appreciate? I've watched this woman under the power of God. I've seen her shout these aisles. I've seen her weep and cry at that altar. I've watched little SJ. You just watch. What's going on with Mama? Right? I mean, she's having herself a Pentecostal time. What's going on with Mama? Brother Gary, myself, different ones, we've came in and just picked up SJ. And he just watching Mama. You know, I'm glad. I'm glad he can see that. I'm glad he can witness that. Oh, he might reach an angel. He'll say, oh, Mama, please don't do that. Oh, no, what are you thinking? Why are you acting that way? Whatever the case might be. But I will tell you, show them what it is to give yourself wholeheartedly to God without any reservation. Oh, she said, I'm pouring out my soul. Think about it. It was the real essence. We all know mothers give and mothers sacrifice. She was really giving that day. She was battling something, Brother Gary. She was believing for something. And God had answered her prayer. As a matter of fact, when she reached that point, the man of God told her, he said, may God grant to you the desires of your heart. Yes. They went back home, and lo and behold, she was expecting. The miracle happened. But before we fast forward too far, she had made a commitment. She made a commitment. The Bible says she vowed a vow to God. Did you know it's better to not promise God anything than to make Him a promise and not keep it? Yeah. But the Bible tells us it's very, very serious. But she had told the Lord, she said, if you will bless me with a son, I'll give him back to you. Hannah grabbed a hold of the fact that she realized that child would be on loan anyway. One of the most powerful things, a minister friend of ours, it was another pastor's wife, told Carolyn and I when we were, in the process of praying for a child, and we had Carolyn had been through a surgery. We knew that physically she couldn't have children. We was going through the whole gamut of making decisions and with adoption, and we were just in that point. There was, there's lots of tears, lots of things we didn't understand. And I'll never forget what one lady had told us one day, and we had heard a lot of things. You know how it is. People want to encourage and want to do things, and there was times, oh, thank you, and there was other times I thought, I just want to punch you in the nose. Don't come and tell me anything. Just let me be mad for a bit. Thank you, that's cue for hurry up, preacher. I'm hungry. When we were going through all that, she said this. She said, God is not just giving you a child when it's right for y'all. She said, but God's going to bless you with that child when it's right. And the timing's right for that baby. For that child. And what it did, Sister Sarah, is it took the focus off of us, and we realized, hey, hang on a second. This life that we're believing for has to fall into the right purpose and perfect timing that God has for everything to be right. Because I realized in that moment, Sister Denny, she's just on loan. I get to love on her, and I've learned, just because your baby's turned 18 doesn't mean you quit parenting. Isn't that right, Sister Benny? Amen. That's right.